All right. So, I'm going to try and see if we can get Mr. Christopher on the line. Mr. Christopher King, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. Yeah, I can hear you just fine, yeah. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you on my side, but I can't hear you on the line. So bear with me 2 seconds. Mr. Wayne Calder, give us a bit of a breakdown about the Arsenal Man City, or the Man City Arsenal game, if you don't mind, while I'm just trying to sort this out.
So it was billed as the clash of the Titans, because I think the Arsenal finished 5 points behind Manchester City 2 seasons ago. They finished 2 points behind them last season, and it was like, is this their time? Is this their time to really challenge Manchester City and put them in their place before Manchester City go into the oblivion of getting all those points deducted and all their titles taken off them?
Yeah.
So it's a really, the hype before the game was really hyped up, and then a week before the game, Odegaard's ruled out. For me, Odegaard is one of Arsenal's most impressive players. In terms of an offensive player, he's just a delight to watch, and me and Gene was talking about him a couple of weeks ago, and we were saying he just does everything quickly. So he's not only extremely talented, he works very hard, and he's got the intensity and the pace to kind of keep going, keep doing what he's doing. Manchester City, they had their challenge with Kevin De Bruyne being ruled out before the game. They brought back Gundogan, and everyone's thinking, oh, you know what? This is the opportunity for Arsenal to really make a statement. I think beginning of the season we spoke about Arsenal bottling it last year, rather than taking the game to Man City, kind of sat back and let them attack them.
Lovely, I hear that. Well, I'm sure Christopher will have something to say about Arsenal sitting back last year. I know we went back and forth on that a couple of times last season. Mr. Christopher King, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yeah. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you beautifully, Mr. King, and it's so good to have you on the show. I gotta be honest, Wayne, I've had my eye on this guy to get him on the show for the longest time. We got a football banter group, right, Chris? And
Yeah, that's right, man.
yeah, man, and you know, this is one of the Arsenal man. I thought, he came on first, I thought, oh man, trying to fire shots at me, you know what I mean, coming at me about Liverpool. But then he started to talk sense, and I was like, hold on a minute. This guy's actually okay, this guy knows his stuff, do you know what I'm saying?
An Arsenal fan that knows his stuff.
Yeah, but
I'm privileged.
But hear the play though.
Oh.
Because his partner's a Liverpool fan.
Oh,
You understand? So not true, Mr. King. Really good to have you on the show, Mr. King. Just by way of introduction for Mr. King, as I say, you know, he's known as Gunner King 14 on TikTok. He's also the founder member of the Armory TV. He guest appeared on AFTV, Arsenal Fan TV as well. Is it the Deluded Gooners channel, Chris?
Yeah. I jump on his channel from time to time, and Dan Potts as well.
And Dan Potts as well. Wow,
Yeah.
lovely. So it's fair to say you've been around.
Yeah, I have, yeah. You know, like, I'm formulating, just starting my own channel. I just need to get the equipment for it, which I'm doing soon, so...
All right, like that. We'll talk about that a bit later on, Chris. We'll make sure we get some information, because I would be happy and interested in tuning into that. But Chris, obviously there was a big game played yesterday. Obviously your beloved Arsenal going to the Etihad, and it was a pretty eventful match. We kind of gave a summary of obviously the goals, how the goals went in, you know, a bit about the sending off, but we wanted to really get into it deep with you now. Firstly, are you pleased with the result?
I'd say I'm about 70 to 80% pleased. I mean, when you get that close to getting a win, and you kind of fight that hard, you know, to hold on to a lead that you've maintained, you know, a real opportunity to go top of the league, to break City's home record, which I think would have been, you know, sort of a damning blow for them.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the great thing that they've been able to utilise in being dominant, you know, over the last few years.
For sure.
In winning league titles, and I think damaging that, you know, so early on this season and kind of giving others the impetus to go to their stadium and do the same could have been massive.
True.
But by the same token, that home record's there for a reason. November the 12th, 2022 was the last time they lost to Brentford.
Yeah. And that's the season Brentford did the double over them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, with that being said, they won their last 13 at home. We were the last team to take points from them when we drew their last season. So that's how hard it is to go there and get anything.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, it keeps us a point behind Liverpool, 2 points behind City. Still well within the race.
Without a doubt.
3 games to go.
Yeah.
So you know, with that in mind, the glass isn't half empty either. So
Yeah, exactly. And as you rightly say, you know, he's still well within the race. I mean, the race has hardly even started, right? We're just coming out the traps at the moment. I think, you know, based upon last season, you mentioned last season's result there when you draw there last season, you're the last team to take point off them at the Etihad. You got a lot of flack for the performance, right, and the approach, I'd say. And I was one of the main pallbearers of that flack, as you know, about Arteta probably being a little bit negative. Did you feel they looked a little bit more progressive this time round? Because when obviously the teams were 11 versus 11, it seemed like Arsenal were, you know, they were also giving as good as they got.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think this season, you know, I think even last season we were progressive. You know, like even last season we did have more shots on target. You know, like Trossard had that great chance at the end. You know, if you'd taken that, it would have been a job well done. You know, but I think this season, it was more evidence that we were trying to sort of give as good as we've got. You know, the danger that we posed from set pieces, Gabriel had a chance beforehand, you know, that could have gone in. And, you know, even with the build-up, you know, we weren't just, you know, sort of rose-ed in it. We were trying to sort of patiently build it up and get it in and around their box. So I think, you know, the real turning point was really the sending off. But I do feel that we were, you know, obviously being expansive, and we looked good for the lead, I think, at half-time.
You did.
We took the deserved lead, to be honest.
You did, and I don't know about you, Wayne, but for me, I was looking at that game at 2-1, and I was thinking, City are going to have to go some to actually get back into it.
I think City started the game really well.
Yeah.
And they really put Arsenal under pressure in that first 10, 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But what I'd ask, what did you think of Calafiori and Timber being in your starting 11?
Yeah, because it was a surprise, wasn't it, to see White dropped and then Timber moved across to right back, right?
Yeah, I think I heard that White wasn't fully fit to start. They'd done something in training, so I was a bit shocked. I did think it was tactical, but then it got brought to my attention that it was based on feeling something in his knee, I think it was.
Got it.
I think a lot throughout last season, Ben White played for injury as well, and he played 33 matches in a row.
Yeah, he did.
So,
it's a lot.
He didn't have the greatest of nights against Atalanta either, so I don't know if the injury thing is a smokescreen or not, but look, Calafiori's come in with a big reputation, did really well at Bologna last season, helped them get Champions League football, got a few goals and assists, played as a centre-back and a left-back, and I think what's useful about that in our system is the way that the inverted fullbacks work. You know, like where one will tuck into defence, the other will tuck into midfield. So, you know, I had no qualms with him starting. You know, that was his debut. You know, he's come on as a sub, but his first full debut, which was the only thing I was slightly apprehensive of. You know, it's probably one of our biggest away games of the season. Yeah,
exactly.
But you know, against one of the toughest opponents that we've faced.
Exactly.
But Timber's been a revelation since he's come back.
Agreed.
Yeah,
so,
really have. And to be honest with you, I wasn't aware that he could play right back as well. I wasn't aware, to be honest with you, because I think when I've seen him play for the Dutch, he's also played left back, from what I recall.
He can play anywhere.
He's a centre back. He's actually a centre back.
He's actually a centre back. You're not wrong. Yes.
He plied his trade as a centre back at Ajax.
Yeah.
I think because he's a ball playing centre back, the way that our system changes, it changes from 4 at the back to being a 3-2-5. We build up.
Yeah.
So one fullback's always tucking into defence. So
yes.
In certain transitions, they're operating as a centre back anyway. So
exactly.
That's what makes it useful to have those players around.
Of course.
And obviously Ben White's the same.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, you can also play centre back. You're right. Listen, I'm gonna talk about something positive first. Now, I really rated your set piece, your set piece against Man City. What I thought was a bit stupid sorry, stupid, that's probably a strong word, right? Was the fact that you fired a shot across the bows maybe 5-6 minutes before.
8 minutes before.
Was it 8 minutes?
8 minutes before.
8 minutes before you then went and scored the goal. You did exactly the same thing. The players all congregated to the back post. Then as the corner kick's about to be taken, they all moved into set positions. It wasn't a random scattergun approach. Martinelli and I think it was Saliba went and just surrounded Ederson. So Ederson, who's now looking at the flight of the ball, and the ball's going over his head, so he's looking to backpedal to go and catch. And Martinelli's just standing there. He just bumps into him and crumbles. Did that twice. The second time you score the goal, I'm surprised that Man City didn't react to that on the second one.
Adding to that, Calafiori, the blocking off at
Yes,
the far post.
at the far post as well,
for Gabriel to have that run straight through. But they did change because initially they put Doku on Gabriel, and I was thinking, huh?
Yeah, and then they changed it to Walker. Yeah. But that's what happened, I suppose, right? When you set up as a zonal marking, that's your positions, right? And you're hoping that, you have someone like Doku who can at least just kind of somehow restrict the run or just put the runner off. But I mean,
he brushed them both off.
I mean, have you seen that corner kick routine before this season, Christopher?
Yeah, we've seen it throughout this season as well.
Yeah.
Like I think with sort of Gabriel, he kind of starts like quite close to the edge of the box, actually, and he kind of like just looks to manipulate a yard of space. He did it against Tottenham, obviously. Lost Romero in a similar way.
Yeah.
And he will either attack the space in the middle of the goal or the back post.
Yeah.
Those two spaces.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned Tottenham, Chris, because wasn't it Tottenham's manager that said, "You don't win titles by getting a set piece, coach." And here's Arsenal, actually, challenging for the title with some ingenious set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the Tottenham thing to do, isn't it? Really, to be honest. Put your mouth in that way, like
shot fired.
But yeah, I think it's 45 goals now since Arteta has become Arsenal's manager.
Yeah.
That we score from set pieces, and that's more than any team in Europe.
That's mad.
But it's not anything new either.
Yeah.
Gabriel scored the most goals from set pieces of any centre back in Europe as well.
Yeah.
15 in his time at Arsenal.
Jeez.
So I don't know if it's all those set pieces or they're just goals in general. Actually, I'm not sure, but
okay.
The highest scoring centre back, I think, and it works for us. And I think especially when you don't have a 20 goal a season striker.
Yeah.
Keep getting reminded of. Obviously we've got goals from other areas.
Yeah.
I think that's what people overlook about this team. That really, there are some teams that will have a Haaland, that will have a Salah or whatever, but we don't put our eggs in one basket.
It's funny you say that.
They come from everywhere,
It's funny, Chris. It's funny you say that because just before the break, Wayne and I were just talking about that very thing, and we were saying about Havertz, he's not going to get you 25, 30 goals a season, but we were saying what the role that he performs is very kind of, Firmino-esque in that number 9 role, where he links play really well, right? What's that?
That was a spot-on assessment, really.
Yeah.
They might not do it in the same way.
No.
But it's like the same function.
And the fact that actually it's a very important cog in the system that Arteta has your team playing right now, right? So that was Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's the thing that's really overlooked about Havertz, and I felt the same about Firmino. I know a lot of Man United fans.
Yeah.
There's more of them than we would like in London.
Yeah.
To be honest, they're the team I dislike the most. But I always observe their skirmishes with View, especially with partner now as well. And the one thing they would try and do is diminish the play of Firmino. But if you took him out of that front three, Man and Salah were in their palm.
Wouldn't have been the same.
I think the most he got in a league season was 13 goals.
Yeah. I believe. You're probably not right. League goals for sure.
Yeah, league goals. Yeah, league goals.
But then if you look at the assists as well with that, he probably would have had probably double figures assists as well.
Yeah, and it's not even just that. It's like sometimes they will make a movement off of the ball that will drag a centre back or a full back out of position that Salah and Mane would take up the positions that they vacate, and that doesn't register as direct assist. But
correct.
Your eye test watch watching the build-up of those goals.
Yeah.
You'll see Coutinho and Havertz doing that
Yes.
a lot. You know,
like... Chris, I knew there was a reason why I brought you on this show, you know. You see how this guy knows his football?
Yeah, I'm just listening to him. I actually have listened to him talk, actually.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Chris, you can come back. You can come back. So, Chris, we spoke about the positives of Arsenal. Let's go to the other side. So, a couple of weeks ago, we know Declan gets sent off for kicking the ball away. It's a bit of an innocuous, you know, kind of action, but he's delayed the start of play. The question was asked, well, if he's kicked the ball away, what happens about Pedro, who'd also kicked the ball away, right? Out of touch, and then booted it downfield. It feels like a similar thing has occurred again in yesterday's match, which, as an Arsenal fan, I understand the frustration. I'll give you my assessment, if you don't mind, and I'd like to hear yours as an Arsenal fan. Obviously, Mr. Trossard, he barges into the back of Bernardo Silva, I think it is, right? Not getting the ball. I think the ball's landing on Bernardo Silva's chest. So he's coming from behind. He's not going to get the ball. Shoulder into the back. He knows it's going to be a free kick. I think we all know, as a footballer, that the referee's not going to miss that, right? The ball drops. Now, I haven't yet heard the audio to hear what the distance is. I'm sure you probably have, Chris. What the distance is, or the time between the ref blowing the whistle and Trossard actually kicking the ball. There's an argument to say he was kicking the ball out to the left where Martinelli could have broke into space. That's the argument. Initially, to the naked eye, it looked like he was just booting the ball away, knowing that it was probably going to be a free kick.
But to be fair, he didn't boot the ball away. It was kind of like a half-hearted kind of kick.
Which is why I think some people think that he was actually passing the ball out, thinking the ball, you know, the move's going to continue, right? Obviously, Mr. Oliver goes and gives a red card. Before I ask you to comment on that, there was also a comparison done with Doku, where a foul was given, Doku turns around and he kicks the ball backwards, which is not a big boot, it was quite a soft kick, but he went back a good, 10, 15 yards? I think Saliba picked up the ball and gave it to Rice, and then the free kick was taken from there. When Doku does that, the referee does kind of point and say, you know, where the Arsenal players were then complaining that he's kicked it away, referee Oliver's pointing and saying, no, that's where you need to take the free kick from. But in fact, the ball's then given back to Rice where Rice was, which was halfway between the two, essentially, and then the free kick is taken. I just wanted to get your view, mate. You got 5 minutes.
I mean, there's so much to unpack here. So, I mean, I was interested about the time, and funnily enough, you know, obviously just scrolling through TikTok, I've made a TikTok of my own. Yeah. I found a guy who's basically broken it down, and he's timed it 1 second.
It was 1 second.
1 second.
So that's harsh.
You're expecting, from the referee blowing a whistle, you're pumping with adrenaline to get to that ball for the other person, because it's a 50-50. There's another player a City player, I don't know who it was, that's thinking, you know, like, I've got a challenge for the contest with the ball as well. So you're in that fight or flight mode. You know, anyone who plays football, like, your reactions, you know, kind of just take over. And, you know, even if there is a whistle blown, you're midway through an action, performing an action, like, and it's just natural to complete the action, but also the reaction time to kind of adjust. The referee's blown the whistle, don't touch the ball. You're expecting players to do that in a fraction of seconds. Like, this is where I say, in general, let's take it out of the game. Let's a big picture view of this. I feel like the FA, UEFA, and FIFA are doing too much to adjust rules that didn't need break. Like, they weren't broken. Don't fix it. Like, a referee can use common sense to know the difference between when a ball's being kicked away because they are trying to waste time or break up the flow of play, and when a player has no time to react. And really, I felt that wasn't something that was being complained about. That wasn't something I was hearing too much about.
It definitely wasn't a big talking point. It wasn't a big talking point.
Players or fans. It wasn't something that I was hearing being talked about. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I think VAR has come in, and listen, I'm not against VAR. The problem with VAR isn't its application; it's the people using the technology are just trained to apply it correctly, and
which is exactly what we've spoken about that exact point on here before, Chris. So you're in good company there, bro.
A whole other conversation, but I just think, in short, like, they've kind of had this directive at the beginning of the season where they've just picked something to kind of be noticed. And I'll be honest, that's what I think it is. It's just like, look, we are trying to make changes to make the game better. Look at us, what we're doing, but, they've had this directive at the beginning of the season. If we see this, it's going to be a yellow card.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make examples of it to show that they're backing up what they're saying.
Exactly that.
Now, the thing is, I don't agree with it, the rule change, because it doesn't make sense. If you play football, you understand how to how difficult it is to change how you react very quickly.
Yeah.
And I just think also the thing that bothers me the most isn't, okay, if you're going to exercise the letter of the law, it's not actually doing that, it's the lack of consistency. Now, in the weekend when Declan Rice did it, there were 8 other offences where players kicked away the ball and weren't booked. And there was one in the same game with Pedro.
Yeah.
Pedro goes on and gets a yellow card later in that game, in the 89th minute.
Yeah.
So it could have been 10 versus 10.
Of course.
That's given us a better chance to find a winner in that game.
And
if we had found a winner in that game, we'd be a few we're separated by 2 points.
Yeah, for sure.
A winner in that game would have put us level on points for City above you. This is what we're talking about. Fine margin.
Without a doubt.
Fine margin.
I've got to say, Christopher, sorry, I agree with you in regards to the fact that when a new directive comes in for referees, it's very apparent that they're overzealous now with that, because they probably feel they are being maybe, under the magnifying glass as to whether they're applying the letter of the law as to what has been discussed potentially,
But they are.
Yeah.
So when they have a new directive, they've got the referees assessors.
Yes.
And they're judged on whether they applied the letter of the law.
Exactly.
There was the one the other day, was it Rice, when Rice got sent off?
Yeah.
And the referee was more or less
He said,
apologising.
what can I do? Yeah, he said you've given me no
didn't
choice
give
or
me a
something.
choice.
That's right, exactly. So it's almost like he's also almost acknowledging the fact, I know it's a bit harsh, but this is the directive now, and I'm assuming the players are told that at the beginning of the season as to what they're probably going to be cracking down on for that season. So that's where you kind of ask the question as to, okay, yes, the referees are probably being overzealous in terms of their, implementing of the rule and punishment, but we also have to say to the players, the players need to take some responsibility in some way. And like, for example, Chris, the Trossard thing, especially with that second delay that you're talking about, right? It's literally a second. And as you rightly say, by the time he blows, Trossard's already in probably the motion of making the kick, yeah? The problem is we see too many players using that as an excuse when it's all 3-4 seconds after the whistle and they kick it away. And then pointing this out in here, yeah. And I think what's happening is players like Trossard are being punished for those people who are trying to be cute. And that's where I start to think the players have to take some kind of responsibility. Listen, it's coming up to the hour of 11 o'clock. Chris, do you mind staying on with us for another 10 minutes? We haven't had enough blood from you as yet.
All good, yeah.
Is that cool, yeah? Lovely. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, play a quick track, then we're going to be back on the other side. We've still got Gunners King 14, otherwise known as Mr. Christopher King, on the line with us. We're going to be back in about 3-4 minutes' time, guys. Please don't go anywhere.
You're listening to Birmingham's Big Community FM, New Style Radio.